Well, thank you, Nick. First of all, I love the phrase sustainable innovation because it really describes the kind of journey that Avery Dennison's been on for the past couple of years. The title of our talk is really about driving change from the inside out. And what that means is that we've discovered as a company that we have the means and the market leadership capability to make a real difference in our entire supply chain in sustainability and specifically reducing greenhouse gas emissions, as well as providing for more sustainable forests, which of course are linked to greenhouse gas as well. Really, we're a little bit different company. We're a B2B company. So we provide labeling and packaging solutions to thousands of customers all over the world in more than 50 countries, and we've been doing this for about 80 years. And we feel that we can make the biggest difference by influencing and teaching our entire supply chain. That's our customers, our suppliers, our raw material suppliers as well, that as market leader, we can help transform our entire industry to be more sustainable. We're working to reduce greenhouse gas emissions because we believe it is an imminent threat. We support goals to limit global warming to less than 2 degrees. And addressing climate change for us is similar to our whole values and ethics mentality. We run great operations all over the world in some really challenging places like Bangladesh and Pakistan, and we feel we can make a difference in those communities where we work as well as in the environment in which we exist. Addressing climate change is somewhat risk mitigation, but when I think about a company that's been around 80 years and we rely on sources of raw materials to convert to tags and labels and other types of packaging solutions, we buy a lot of paper. We need trees and we need pulp and paper in our supply chain. So making sure that we have the products that we need available in a sustainable way will help sustain the overall momentum of Avery Dennison Corporation. It's a source of innovation as well. And one of the things that is most inspiring for me inside our company is the number of innovations that our engineers and our lab technicians have come up to help bring solutions to make other company supply chains more sustainable. So I encourage you to take a look at our booth later and you'll see some very interesting solutions of sustainable materials, including like the care labels. That's that long white label on your badge today. We actually make those. I hope that's made of recycled polyester. We've cut our emissions index to sales since 2010, about 15%. And we did that a lot with an internal focus on becoming a lot more energy efficient. Somewhat low-hanging fruit because we save money, we use less greenhouse gas, and our engineers are really focused on making sure that we're starting up and shutting down equipment in a much more efficient manner, as well as using some alternative forms of energy. But during that journey, we realized we could do so much more. And in fact, we have committed to a 3% reduction in annual emissions over the next 10 years, even with about a 5% growth rate, which means we'll be reducing our greenhouse gas intensity by about 26% over that 10 years. And that's really based on the science-based solutions that we've obtained from World Wildlife Federation as well as McKinsey. And I have to tell you, when you tell your engineers you want to have that bold of a goal, they actually get excited. They love to tackle engineering problems where you're doing things that aren't just easy year over year. Now, we'll meet those goals in 2 ways. We'll get about a half from a continued focus on getting more energy efficiency in our factories with better lighting, LED lighting, more efficient ovens in our drying process. But we'll get the other half from investments in renewable energy. We'll be installing wind power in some of our facilities around the world. And we'll also be investing in wind power, not in our facilities, but as offsets to the carbon fuels that we'll use at some of our facilities. Now, one challenge is we don't have all the answers on how to reach those 10 years goals. The obstacles exist. I was interested in the discussion around carbon pricing and offsets because it's something that as a business person you're always looking for ways to find the most efficient as well as effective path forward to achieve your goals. For example, in some of the states that we do business in the US, they don't allow you to invest in wind or solar energy and then sell the excess power that you have back to the utilities. That's somewhat of a constraint. But we are working with more than 30 other companies that committed to meet these science-based targets and goals, and we're always looking for, again, solutions where we can offset some of those greenhouse gases and search for more cost-effective ways of using renewable energy. Now, we can have a major impact by using our market leadership, and we're the market leader in both of our key businesses, to shift our practices across the whole supply chain. We implemented a responsible paper sourcing policy a few years ago, and our policy is to make the most use of recycled and sustainably produced fiber, with FSC, the Forest Stewardship Council, being the gold standard in that area. Our goals are to be 100% of our supply chain certified, with 75% of our papers being used that are FSC certified. Now, that has not been easy. Getting FSC at cost parity for our customers has been an uphill battle, but I've been surprised at the uptick in the short term. And that's because we've worked really hard with our suppliers to develop sources of FSC certified pulp at cost parity to enable us to just offer this as a standard product in our industry. From just about 2 years ago, in Europe today, we sell 66% of our labeling face papers in this marketplace that are FSC certified with no upcharge or no cost advantage. So we're pretty proud and pretty excited about that. In addition, our Avery Dennison Foundation is funding organizations that promote sustainability. We have a project we've been funding in Honduras where we're working with Rainforest Alliance to teach indigenous foresters to take care of their forests for the long term, but also by helping them develop markets for their future. And that's a pretty exciting project. And I think there's probably a photo or two of me in a muddy shirt after visiting the rainforest. Teaching people how to use their forests for long-term sustainable good and helping them sustain their lifestyle and their culture is incredibly rewarding. And it can be profitable as well. Reducing greenhouse gas emissions while growing, I believe, is the defining business challenge of the 21st century. It's a strategic imperative, but it's also a moral one. It's too risky to allow this much carbon in our atmosphere, so the time to change is now. We support a carbon tax to incent and to drive change, and we've joined more than 80 companies signing the American Business Act on Climate Pledge, which is just another step to a low-carbon, sustainable future. Business plays a key role in making the planet more sustainable. Businesses are formed to help find profitable ways to meet unmet needs. And I can't think of a bigger unmet need than climate change. So Avery Dennison is making a difference. And we're creating change for a sustainable climate and a sustainable planet from the inside out. Thank you.
Dean, I've got to just put this to you. We had a quick conversation beforehand, but was there a eureka moment when, would you have been thinking this 5 years ago? Was there suddenly a moment where you said, we've got to change?
I think it was actually that one of those photographs there was a trip I made with several of my colleagues who are here today in Guatemala. And we had visited a forest community who was using sustainable forest practices and then developing products they could sell at pretty good prices, actually, in developed markets. And that's when I realized that the work we were doing to create sustainable forests was not a charitable work. It was business. We were helping these people create better lives for themselves by teaching them how to run better businesses. And in fact, when we heard from these communities, they sounded like business people. They were telling us about a new product that they could sell, a new forest product that they could sell in Holland for a much higher margin. And then I realized this is great work.
All right, Dean, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you
for your support for the conference. Thank you.